It really seems so long ago, but it is not. Mere months, really. I refer to the monstrous Syrian tyrant Assad's regime's gassing of its own citizens. The world had taken notice of the slaughter in Syria, the government's use of its army, its combat machines and jet fighters turned on the Syrian population by its own government and its own leader. But the gassing, well, that was just so barbarous that taking notice wasn't good enough. First, because the use of poison gas against anybody, but particularly civilians, men, women, children, infants, shocks even a war-cynical world. But more, because the U.S. President Obama, having kept a politically protective distance from the horrors going on in Syria, had at least marked out in advance that the use of poison gas, chemical weapons, would be crossing his red line, that the might and power and conscience of the United States would not stand for that barbarity. It seemed as if the U.S. would have to live up to Mr. Obama's word. But, irony of ironies, poison gas having been used and killed at least 5,000 people, the great philanthropist and peacemaker Vladimir Putin stepped in with a proposal to rid Syria of its chemical weapons. This finessed the dilemma. Mr. Obama got to keep his political distance and ignore his own red line. The dread Assad got to continue his war using everything at his disposal and to stay in power himself. Nor did others, Britain, France, China, stir themselves at so gruesome a moment. The whole world turned blind. Meantime, since those moments, Syria has continued to be a cauldron of death and misery and displacement, its suffering obscured by the serious and the trivial. One day the headline is Avril Lavigne's wretched new video, another the disappeared jetliner, and the next day Vladimir Putin's territorial menaces. Deaths in the Syrian conflict are estimated to have reached 200,000. Refugees and displaced within the country reach into the many millions, a scale of murder and misery hardly to be contemplated. And now, this week, defying all irony, there are allegations, not proved but believed likely, that the regime has used chlorine gas in an attack. And the incredible fact is that chlorine is not on the list of poisonous weapons to be given up. All this continues under a doctrine of the UN called responsibility to protect, under a pledge from the Obama administration that Assad must go. He will not. And that great vow, emergent out of the horrors of the Second War of never again, is shattered once more. Reality mocks it all. The U.S. offers no leadership, the UN is useless, and the world is distracted, or worse, indifferent. For The National, I'm Rex Murphy.